Hi there, smart drivers. Talking to you tonight about driving examiners, those gatekeepers that you need to get past to get your driver's license. Tonight we're going to talk to you about what your job is and what their job is and how you can demonstrate the skills and abilities that you need to pass your driver's test first time and be successful. And as well, all the skills and abilities that we give you will also make you a safer, smarter driver after you get your license. So, driving examiners. And there is a cadre of smart drivers here on the channel who have left comments saying that it is the driving examiner's fault and that, in fact, they failed when, no, it's really not the driving examiner's fault. If you were unsuccessful on your driver's test and you didn't pass, 9 times out of 10, it wasn't the driving examiner's fault. Something happened in the environment, the driving environment, that you couldn't deal with, or you simply weren't ready. And it's in rare cases that drivers that are fully ready don't pass their driver's test. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. It does happen, but every now and again, it's a rare occasion, as I said. So most of the time, 9 times out of 10, if you don't pass your driving test, you didn't demonstrate the skills and abilities that you needed to be successful on your driver's test. So lots of people here tonight. Mallory's here tuning in from the Maritimes. My friend Jake is here. Tim is here from Drive Smart BC on Vancouver Island. If you're in the province of British Columbia, check out Tim's website, Drive Smart BC. Excellent information about traffic safety, road maintenance, court cases, anything that you can think of related to traffic safety here in the province of British Columbia. Tim is a retired RCMP officer, has an excellent website, great information over there as well. You can participate in his forum with other experts and people interested in the field of traffic safety. So check out Drive Smart BC at Tim's information there. Really good stuff. Elevator fan, no longer coughing. You're feeling better. That's awesome. Chris just tuned in. The videos are great, really helpful. That is awesome. So glad that we can help out Chris. If you're tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from and what class of license you're going for and how we can help you out. My friend Marion is here. Jake, my examiner was great. Turned out she was the same lady that gave me both licenses from private school and community college. Entire test was spent catching up with each other. Awesome. And sometimes that's how it's going to go. If they know that you can drive, and we're going to talk about that, the first 5 minutes of your drive is going to be the most important, and I'll tell you why. The first 5 minutes is the piece of the driving test that you have to get right. You have to hit the ground running. You don't have a few minutes to warm up on your driving test, so we're going to talk about that. Corey is here, Bricks for Wheels. Corey is the moderator, does an excellent job of getting up the videos that I suggest you have a look at for more information to the questions you ask, and then as well keeps out the bad people, because we have a few of those here. Klaus tuning in from Bavaria, Germany, 3 a.m. here, and welcome, Klaus. I know what it's like not to sleep either, and you're up in the middle of the night. Francesca, it is nice here in British Columbia. We finally have spring here. You can finally go outside and hang out in your t-shirt, which is really nice, because it just feels like we have had winter here since November, which is unusual for us. Usually we don't get winter until January, and then it's gone by the end of March. So it has felt like a long winter for us, which, we're very happy for the spring. And my mom's coming next week, so that's even better. Anne, tuning in from California. Hello, elevator fan, Monticello, Indiana. And I saw it here. It's gone now, but it'll come back. Rudeau, I'm taking my first class in May as an adult. I've been driving for 6 months with my permanent passenger. Can I ask just practicing maneuvers and pretend testing? Yes, and there is exercises, maneuvers here on the channel. Have a look at those beginner videos, information. Corey will put up the playlist for you as well. If you head over to the Smart Drive Test website and click Learn to Drive on the main menu, there's a beginner drivers, a whole section on beginner drivers and skills and maneuvers that you should practice when you're learning how to drive. Chris, tuning in from Delaware in the U.S. there. I just came back from Delaware a couple of months back. Did some training down there. It was really great there on the East Coast. Kaya, I have my driving test tomorrow afternoon. I practice a lot, so hopefully I will do well. Thanks for all your videos. Awesome. and you're going to do awesome. Good luck on your driver's test tomorrow. Remember to breathe. That will help you cause your body to relax and help you to pass and be successful on your driver's test. Colton, been getting hit by wet spell after wet spell. The weather's Greenbrier, Arkansas for you. Yes, and Colton's here from Greenbrier in Arkansas there. And yes, lots of wet weather. Not something that is usual to Arkansas. They should be in full spring by now. Elevator, no phones during your driver's test? Yes, absolutely. No phones, no recording devices. If you have a dash cam in your car, take it out for the duration of your driver's test. I know that there are YouTube channels that have full driver's tests on them with dash cams in the vehicle and whatnot. I'm not sure how they got around that, because most of the time they're not going to allow you to have a recording device in the vehicle. So put your phones away, put your dash cams away, and any other electronic or recording devices in your vehicle. Mallory, when you're coming up to a bridge, make sure that you were in the correct lane for the bridge. Yes, absolutely. And as well, once you hit that expansion joint, make sure that you're not going crazy stupid fast, because sometimes there is a slight difference between where the expansion joint is, where the roadway is, and where the bridge meets, and sometimes you can get a little bit of a lift off of that, especially if you're going uphill to get onto the bridge, which is the case with a lot of bridges. Colton says spring in Arkansas is usually pretty wet, so lots of rain there, so make sure you have your windshield wipers checked. Make sure if you do have your windshield wipers on and you're driving in the rain there in Arkansas, turn your headlights on with your windshield wipers to keep yourself safe. Marion, my instructor unplugged my dash cam before we started my test, and yes, they will do that because you can't have any recording devices in the vehicle. Kaya, what do we do if our car has a backup camera during the test? Do we have to cover it up somehow? Kaya, no. You can use a backup camera for your driver's test. You just can't use it as your line of sight. So for example, if it's on the mirror, you can't be looking at the mirror the whole time that you're backing up. You can check it, check your mirrors, but you have to be looking out through the back window for the duration of your reversing. So you can use a backup camera for your driver's test, and you can just glance at it, but you can't use it as your primary line of sight. Corey put up the video on how to drive safely in the rain for those of you there in Arkansas and other neighboring states where it's wet. Jake, for those of us with preeminent cameras, must they be physically blocked, or is it the audio they are against? I presume it depends on location. So you're talking about cameras that run all the time and you can't unplug them. Is that what you're saying? Because in the car, I don't know of any personal vehicles or driving instructor cars that you would have a camera in that you wouldn't be able to cover up. Or are you talking about, Jake, or are you talking about reverse cameras? Because if you're talking about backup cameras, you can use those for the test. It's just dash cams you can't use, or other recording devices. Mallory, this is the case with the bridge that goes between PI and New Brunswick on the PE side. Yes, and we have an overpass here at the north end of town. There's a big dip right before the bridge. I'm not sure what happened, whether the road settled or what happened, but you get up over there and you hit that at highway speeds, and the car hits the top of the suspension, so you get and I'm sure if you were going a bit faster, you would actually get the vehicle off the ground with that road surface. Jake says, mine is a fleet vehicle. Okay, so it's something that can't be unplugged. I don't know how that would work for a driver's test, Jake. They may not let you take it, but if you can't unplug it, I don't know how that would work. You might have to get another vehicle or whatnot, but generally, in my experience, they won't let you have recording devices in the vehicle. Elevator fan, is there already a vehicle in the intersection when you are waiting to turn left? Don't pull up behind them. Yes. Wait behind the stop line until they get turned. All right, Marion, I've had lots of pressure from other aggressive drivers who honk at me to go around the corner and then roar around me as I start moving. Yeah, that's unfortunately going to happen, Marion. You know, aggression, hurry up and get out of my way. That's all part of social driving. Don't go until you feel comfortable to go. Keep yourself safe. If they want to be a doofus head, let them go and have their crash somewhere else, okay? So that's what's going to happen. So anyway, the way it works here, we have a presentation, 10 minutes on the presentation, then we'll come back and the remainder of the hour we'll answer any questions you have about passing a driver's test, becoming a safer, smarter driver, or starting a career as a truck or bus driver. So over to the presentation here, getting going on that. Get my controls up here. So the crusty old driving examiners, some do look like that, but I would say 80-90% of them do a really good job, and they are cordial and will help you out as best they can. Unfortunately, if you are not ready for your driver's test, and it demonstrates that in your inability to control the vehicle with the primary controls, you're jerky on the brakes, you're too slow, too cautious, all of that is going to cause you to not be successful on your driver's test. So you have to get past the gatekeepers. And if you do, unfortunately, have a miserable driving instructor, or driving examiner rather, sometimes you just have to focus on what you're doing and say, screw you, I'm going to pass this. I don't care what you do or what you think or how the way you make me feel. I'm going to take my right to get my driver's test. So do that when you're on your test. For those of you new to Smart Drive Test, my name is Rick August. I was a truck driver in the 1990s, hauling freight between Canada and the United States. Became a licensed commercial driving instructor in 1997. Back to university and finished up my undergraduate, and then got accepted into a master's program at the University of Melbourne in Australia, and found out that after 6 months, if I presented a proposal to my committee, my graduate degree committee, that I could upgrade to a PhD program, which I did and was successful, and earned my doctorate in legal history in 2006, which is the study of policing, prisons, and courts. My expertise is in policing as it relates to traffic. While I was going to university, drove buses for Greyhound and one of the regional bus lines there, so I have coach experience as well. And then in 2015, I started the online YouTube channel and the business around that, and has all been wildly more successful than I could have ever imagined. If you want to know more about that, check out my autobiography over at the Smart Drive Test website. You can find the link to that down in the discussion. Check out this stuff for people who are starting new. Critical driving basics, the fundamentals of driving, which are slow speed maneuvers, working the primary controls of the vehicle, the steering wheel, the brake, and the throttle, the gas pedal, the accelerator. I call it the throttle because I've been so many years driving truck. In a diesel truck, it works as a throttle because it's not really the accelerator, but it does make the truck go faster, makes the motor go faster. The other thing you can look at the podcast on driving examiners. That's over at the Smart Drive Test website. Have a look at that, and good stuff that will help you to pass your driver's test and be successful first time. So what is the job of driving examiners? Their job is to assess your ability to have due care and control of the vehicle in changing traffic conditions. So different driving conditions, residential areas, how to parallel park, do slow speed maneuvers, drive on multi-lane urban roadways, drive on highways, get onto freeways. And you will be asked to get on a freeway if it is in close proximity to the DMV. They can ask you to do that. It is up to the discretion of the examiners whether you drive on freeways, highways, what parallel parking you do, backing around a corner, those types of things. They have discretion in what they can get you to do for the purposes of the driver's test. Your job is nothing more than to take away the driving examiner's right to fail you. Nothing less, nothing more. That's all you have to do. Okay, first impressions. Wash your car, vacuum it out, take it down to the local car wash. Most of them have free vacuum cleaners. You can vacuum the vehicle out and have a shower, put on clean clothes before you show up at the DMV, because first impressions. When I used to take guys down for their truck driving license, we had one driving examiner. If the guys were all tatted up and had ripped jeans on, they were going to have a hard time with this one driving examiner because he was ex-military, and being all tatted up and long hair and earrings and piercings and those types of things. He took umbrage with that and gave those students a harder time. All right, so myths about driving examiners. Don't wear sunglasses. That's a myth. If driving instructors tell you that, it is simply not true. If you need sunglasses to drive, then wear sunglasses if it's sunny out. I need sunglasses to wear or to drive because I'm very photosensitive, and if it's sunny out, I'm just squinting all the time, and I would rather somebody to be safe than to not be wearing sunglasses because some driving examiner or some driving instructor gave you the incorrect information and said, oh, they're looking at your eyes. Well, Corey will put up the video for you on how to see when you're driving. The reality is you cannot observe correctly and drive a vehicle safely without moving your head. Okay, don't engage in conversation. At the beginning of the test, yes, don't engage in conversation, but if you're halfway through the driving test and the examiner starts to talk to you, then yes, have a conversation with them. Examiners work to fail you. That is false. Examiners have a quota of number of students that they have to fail. That is also false. I was taking Charlie up to Salmon Arm a couple of years back now, and he said, oh, there's one guy with a monocle and he fails everybody. For those of you who don't know what a monocle is, it's the one eyepiece, one eyeglass that goes over one eye. It's called a monocle. And I started laughing, and driving examiners, there is not one driving examiner that is going to fail everybody. They have managers, they have supervisors, they have to answer to people. If one driving examiner is failing 80% of their students, they're going to get called up in front of their manager, and they're going to be asking why they're failing 80% of their students that they're taking out for a driver's test. I have to speak English perfectly. That is also not true, and examiners are unfair. That is also not true. These are all myths that are perpetuated amongst those who are going to be taking their driver's test. All right, pre-trip inspection. Make sure that you do a pre-trip inspection on your vehicle before you go down for your driver's test. Unfortunately, too many students have been denied their driver's test because there was something simple that they could have fixed before they showed up. The passenger seatbelt not working, for example. A brake light that is out, that is easily fixed. It takes about 15 minutes to fix a brake light, to replace the bulb in your vehicle. Depending, of course, what kind of brand you have and getting it into the auto mechanic or technician and those types of things. So do a pre-trip inspection. Corey put up the video for you on that. You can have a look at that. As well, look at most common mistakes on a driver's test, the top 10 most common mistakes. And also look at automatic fails. Now, the irony of these two videos on the channel here is automatic fails has the most number of views on the channel. It has had 2 million views in the last year. The thing is that most people who fail a driver's test do not fail outright. Most people who fail a driver's test fail because of an accumulation of demerits. They simply had too many mistakes during the drive. So it should be the inverse of that. The most common mistakes on a driver's test should be the video that most people are watching, because that is the reason that most people are going to fail a driver's test. They're not going to fail automatically on a driver's test. So know that. Okay, shoulder checking. This is the number one most common mistake that most drivers make when taking a test, and they fail on this very point. They do not shoulder check. You must shoulder check, shoulder check, shoulder check. You have to maintain space in front of your vehicle, and you have to maintain that for the duration of your test, 2 to 3 second following distance at minimum. Okay, when parallel parking, you cannot adjust your mirrors to see into your blind areas. The examiner is simply not going to wait for you to do that. It takes about a minute to do that, and they're not going to wait. Technology, blind spot detectors, backup cameras, parallel parking, the technology that automatically parallel parks your car. All of that is great, but you can't use it on a driver's test. You still have to shoulder check. And we had a woman on a live stream months ago who was insistent that she didn't have to shoulder check and she just needed to rely on her technology. Well, the technology is just a backup, and you need to have your driving skills in place to keep yourself safe when you're driving. Road signs. Failing to adjust your speed according to the signs. You're not merging when the lane ends. You're not coming to a complete stop at the correct stopping positions at stop signed intersections. School zones, you don't know where they are in and around the test center, and you don't know the difference between different kinds of road markings. So, for example, solid white lines prohibit changing lanes at that point, often found before crosswalks and intersections. And stop signs. I've had a number of students come back to me this week and tell me that they didn't stop at the stop sign, at the location of the sign, and the driving examiner assigned demerits. That is simply not true. If you think it's the stop sign, simply send me a comment, send me an email, tell me what state you're in. I'll look it up in the driver's handbook for you, and I will tell you the 3 stopping positions at stop signed intersections. Before the stop line, before the crosswalk or sidewalk. If those 2 conditions don't exist, then at the edge of the road where the two roads meet. So just before entering the intersection. Those are the 3 stopping positions on a stop sign, at a stop sign intersection. All right, slow speed maneuvers. 7/8 of the road test is in a forward motion. It's the 1/8 of the slow speed maneuvers that is going to get you into trouble. And I've had a number of people as well this week, I'm not sure what it is, but telling me that they don't have to parallel park in Florida. You have to parallel park in Florida. Maybe it's some individual DMVs in certain counties, but it is not part of the state DMV driver's test. You must parallel park in the state of Florida. There are only 3 places that I know of and have been confirmed that you don't have to parallel park. California, Maryland, and Ohio. Those are the only 3 states that I know that you do not have to parallel park. But they have other maneuvers in place instead of parallel parking. If you can parallel park, you can pass the driver's test, because if you practice the slow speed maneuvers, it will make you a safer, smarter driver faster. It is the biggest return on investment that you can get, okay? 20% in, 80% out for slow speed maneuvers. Lane positioning, move to the right after turning left, and the examiner will not tell you this. If you turn left on a multi-lane road, you have to move back to the right. You have to drive in the right lane for the duration of your driver's test. All right? When turning on multi-lane roads, it's left lane to left lane and right lane to right lane. If you drift over into the other lane, it will be either a major error or you could even fail outright. Okay, moving the vehicle laterally, which is changing lanes, and you have to communicate effectively, and then of course you have to shoulder check effectively when taking your driver's test. Assess competency, score of demerit points. As I said, major errors and minor errors. For minor errors, you're probably going to get 5 points, maybe even 2 points. On major errors for your driving test, you're going to get 10 or 15 points, maybe even 20. And most driving tests allow 35 points before you fail your driver's test. So if you get a couple of 20s on major errors, then your driver's test is going to be over and you're going to go back to the DMV and they're going to simply tell you that you were unsuccessful on passing your driver's test. At the end of the driver's test, they're going to give you a debrief. They're going to tell you how the test went, a couple of things that you can work on. Remember that driving examiners are limited in the amount of time that they have, so they can only focus on 1 or 2 things. They can't tell you everything that could have been improved over the course of the driver's test. Excuse me. Now, in major centers, major urban centers such as New York City, they're not going to give you feedback because unfortunately too many driving examiners have been abused by driving instructors, parents, the people being tested. You will not get a debrief. You will simply log on to the website later that evening and you will get your result of whether you passed your driver's test or not in the city of New York and other large urban centers. All right, so good luck on your driver's test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Marion, I got 7 things to work on, but I don't think I got any demerit points. Would they tell me if I did? Marion, yes, they would tell you if you got any demerit points on your driver's test. They usually do. They give you a score sheet, and on that score sheet will tell you how many points you were assigned for errors that you made during the test. Construction in school zones. Yes, an automatic fail in a driver's test is construction zones and school zones. You will definitely fail automatically. Now, on that point of what Jake just said about speeding on a driver's test, you can go over or under the speed limit a little bit. What they're looking for is that you are adjusting your speed during the test, because your speed management is tied into your observation. So when you're looking down the road with your forward scanning pattern, looking down the road, instrument panel down the road, mirror down the road, wing mirrors, that's your forward scanning pattern that you're repeating every 10 to 12 seconds. So every 10 to 12 seconds, you're looking at your instrument panel and checking your speed. So every 10 to 12 seconds, you should be adjusting your speed, either the posted speed limit or the flow of traffic, how fast the traffic in front of you is going and allowing you to go. If you're not adjusting your speed every 10 to 12 seconds, that's telling the driving examiner that you are not observing correctly. So he or she is in the vehicle with you, and all of a sudden you're slowing down or you're speeding up, you're slowing down, you're speeding up. You don't have good control of the primary controls, and your observation isn't in place, and you're not doing what you need to do to be a safer, smarter driver on the road. So probably you're not going to be successful. The other piece about a driver's test, some people think that driving slower than the posted speed limit makes them a more cautious driver, which is not true. If you're driving slower than the posted speed limit, you are unpredictable and being an obstacle to other traffic on the roadway. So therefore, you are in fact, more dangerous to other traffic. And I can pretty much guarantee you that if you're being all namby-pamby and driving below the posted speed limit, and going around the corner at 2 miles an hour, you're not going to be successful in your driver's test. And funny story about that, I was working at a driving school some years ago, truck driving. We weren't teaching cars, and one of the guys had been an ice road trucker, the big show, woo, ice road trucker, right? I watched Ice Road Trucker for 3 episodes, and that's all I watched because I wanted to know how fast they were driving. And I figured it out on the 3rd episode that these guys were driving 20 miles an hour on the ice. 20 miles an hour, hour after hour after hour on the ice. So imagine how bored you would be. Like snow for as far as the eye can see, driving at 20 miles an hour. So he would tell the students to gear down to 2nd gear in the big truck to go around a corner. And like 2nd gear in a big truck is like 5 miles an hour. I had a couple of his students in there gearing down. I'm like, what are you doing? That's a lot of work to go around a corner. I'm like, put the thing in 5th gear. Let's go. So if you're doing that on a driver's test and you're going around the corner at 5 miles an hour, you can be pretty guaranteed that you're probably not going to pass your driver's test. So don't be all namby-pamby on your driver's test. Drive the appropriate speed. Get the practice so you know which speed to drive. Going around corners, left turns, right turns, those types of things. All right. Jay, what should I do when I am on a street and there is a green light that has turned to yellow last second on the driver's test? Should I stop or go? I live in Ohio, by the way. Jay, that's going to take a bit of practice about yellow lights, how far you are from the intersection. The basic kind of rule that I tell students is that a vehicle will not stop in its own length. So if you were 1 vehicle length away from the intersection, then you're going to have to go through. Now, the other piece about it is that a lot of people come back and leave comments and say, oh, if I jam on the brakes, I'm going to get rear-ended. Well, you've made a mistake right there. When you say that to me, oh, I'm going to get rear-ended if I jam on the brakes. The other piece about observation is when you're driving down the road, you're looking in the center mirror and checking to see if somebody's behind you and tailgating you and sitting on your bumper. Because if you come up to a yellow light, you might have to jam on the brakes to get the vehicle stopped, especially for a driver's test. And, I've had that happen in tractor trailers, semi-trucks when I'm teaching guys. You got to lock up the brakes to get the thing stopped at a yellow light, and sometimes that happens. So Corey will put up the video for you on yellow lights. I can't give you the answer. It's one of those unexpected things. And Corey will put up the video on unexpected events that might happen during a driver's test. A yellow light is one of those things because when you're learning how to drive, you might be driving around for 3 or 4 days on, 3 or 4 lessons, and you've never hit a yellow light. And then it doesn't get to the 5th lesson. So it's one of those unexpected events. It's like turning right on a red light. You may not get the experience of turning right on a red light until half a dozen lessons in because it's one of those things that rarely happens on a driver's test. So have a look at the video on unexpected events and how to deal with yellow lights and get some more experience, and that should be able to help you out. Because if you go through the traffic light, I'll tell you this, and it's yellow, and you're halfway through the intersection and the light turns red, you're going to fail your driver's test because you just ran a red light. And again, I've had comments from people who are like, once you pass that stop line and it turns red, you didn't run a red light. That's rubbish. If you're in the intersection and the driving examiner looks up through the top of that windshield and sees that light go red, you ran a red light and you failed your driver's test. So know that, practice it, get some practice, and be sure to be successful on your driver's test, because that is not true. When these people have this opinion that if I'm past the stop line and the light turns red, I didn't run a red light. That's bunkus. You did run a red light. And if there's red light cameras, you're going to get a red light ticket. So know that to keep yourself safe, okay? JP, I failed my driver's test in December. Now I'm taking it on June the 5th. Awesome. JP, I hope that it didn't take you that long to get a retest. That's a long time. Tyler, when I'm driving around, I check for traffic when turning on red lights for as long as signs prohibit me from turning. If I see a yellow light, I would stop if possible. Yes. And the other piece about red lights, you do have to come to a complete stop, give way to all of the road users before turning right on a red light. And as Tyler just said, look for signs that prohibit reds on rights, okay? And the only places that you can't turn right on a red light, New York City and the 5 boroughs, okay? So Manhattan, the Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn, and Staten Island, okay? Those 5 boroughs in New York City, you cannot turn right on a red light. The only other place that I know is the island of Montreal in Quebec, in the province of Quebec here in Canada. So those are the only places that I know that you can't turn right on a red. Everywhere else you can turn right on a red light, so long as signs don't prohibit you from turning right on a red light. And coming back to unexpected things that may happen on your driver's test, that's one of the unexpected events that may happen on your driver's test. Okay, turning right on a red light. It's one of those things that when you practice, you have to get enough practice that you actually come up to a red light, you're turning right, and signs don't prohibit it, and you get the practice where you do that. Because some years ago, I was teaching this student, and he was one of these guys, he was cheap, he didn't want to pay for driving lessons, so he would just come in, he would do 3 hours before his test in the truck, and then he would go down, because he already had some experience in this and that. And so anyway, we're out 3 hours before his driver's test, and we come up to a T intersection. I said to him, okay, turn right at the intersection. It was a red light. He comes up to the intersection, blows through the red light, and makes the right turn. And of course, I just started laughing. I just thought it was funny as heck. And he's like, what are you laughing about? And I'm like, you know, red light usually means come to a stop. He's like, well, there was nobody there and I could have just gone. I said, yeah, but you just failed your driver's test. I said, you have to come to a complete stop at a red light before you turn right. You have to give way to everybody else at the intersection. He was dumbfounded about why he had to come to a stop at a red light. But these are the people that we share the roadway with. So know that it's not a matter of, you know, if somebody's going to cut you off. It's not a matter of if somebody's not going to signal. It's not a matter of if somebody's going to honk their horn at you. It's a matter of when. Okay? It's going to happen. Eventually, it's going to happen. Pink, confused on the left turn into the multi-lane road. In our Texas driver's manual, there is no picture which shows that we can turn left on either closest left or right turn. Okay, Rose, I'm not quite sure what you're asking me, but basically on a left turn in Texas, it's the same. Left lane to left lane, right lane to right lane when you're turning on multi-lane roads. And again, if you're turning right on a red light, come to a complete stop, give way to all of the road users, and then proceed with your right turn. Good night, my friend Tim. All the best. Enjoy your dinner, and we will see you next week, my friend. And we're starting again at 5:30 next week, okay? Because my son's back. Got to take him to soccer, all that fun stuff. So we'll be starting at 5:30 next week. Mallory, is it cold night here in the Maritimes this evening? Well, I'm really happy that we're past that, my friend Mallory, because it's nice and warm here. JP, I wanted to practice more to feel safe because most of the time I'm nervous while driving. And JP, that'll come, that you'll get more comfortable as you get more experience with driving. Klaus, in Austria, the traffic lights are flashing green 3 times before it turns yellow. That's good. Yes, gives you more time to know when the light is actually going to change. Here in British Columbia and in other places that I have driven, they will actually have a set of warning lights back from the traffic light that will start flashing. And if you are not completely under that sign, when those lights start flashing, you got to start slowing down and stopping for the traffic light, because it's going to turn it's going to turn yellow and red before you actually get there. So these are actually good out on the highways as well, because they give you an indication that the light is going to change before you get there. Elevator, can you honk your horn if someone cuts you off? Elevator, you can, but my theory on horn honking is that a lot of times it just tells the other driver that he or she is a bonehead and they cut you off. If you have time to honk your horn, most of the time you have time to take evasive action, okay? And you can take evasive action and, you know, just let them go and have their crash somewhere else. That's what I recommend you do rather than honking your horn. But you can honk your horn if it makes you feel better. Nuri, can you tell me what signals left, right, and left need to be indicated while doing three-point turn? Yes, so you're going to pull over to the side of the road. You're going to signal to the left. You're going to drive over to the other side. And then you're going to signal to the right because you're going to move the back end of the vehicle to the right. And then you're going to signal left when you take off and go the other way again. Corey will put up the video for you on three-point turns, and that will show you how to signal for your slow speed maneuvers. And this is the other piece about your driving test. Signal every time you change directions of the vehicle, forward and backward, okay? And that will get you big brownie points with the driving instructor, okay? And this is where most students get dinged, is when they're leaving the DMV, okay? You have to signal when you leave the parking lot. If you're in the parking lot, I know that some DMVs you just show up and park along the curb, but other test centers will have dedicated parking and back into the space, unless signs prohibit it, back into the space. And then when you leave the parking space and the examiner tells you to go left or right, signal when you're leaving the parking space. That'll get you points right off the beginning at the, the first 5 minutes of your test. As I said in the introduction, the first 5 minutes of your driving test is important. It's critical, okay? I'll tell you why. When I was driving bus, the first 5 minutes of the bus trip was critical, same as your driver's test. So I was tired. I was very tired. I've been working a lot. I went down to the depot, loaded the passengers on, loaded the luggage on, and we're heading to Sydney. Okay, it's an 11-hour trip from Melbourne, Australia to Sydney on the overnight. We're on the overnight express. So we get all the passengers on the bus and I'm ready to go. And so the depot, or the terminal where you pick up the passengers, is inside. It's in a big building. So we get everybody on the bus and we're ready to go. So I back up out of the space and I stalled it. Dumped the clutch, stalled the bus. Start the bus up. I come out to the sidewalk and a pedestrian stepped right in front of the bus. Slammed on the brakes. Everybody in the bus goes forward. And then now I'm kind of rattled because I stalled the bus, jammed on the brakes, and I'm making a right turn, which is a left turn in Australia because they drive on the left side of the road, and pulled the back tires of the bus up over the curb. And I'll tell you, because it was the first 2 minutes of the trip and I did those three things, nobody on that bus slept on the overnight all the way to Sydney because they were all terrified they were going to die. Every other trip where everything went swimmingly for the first 5 minutes of the trip, everything goes swimmingly on the first 5 minutes of the trip, you could put that bus up on two wheels and nobody would have cared after that because they knew they were safe. But you screw up the first 5 minutes, they don't feel so safe. And this is the same thing with your driving test. You got to get the first 5 minutes perfect. If you get the first 5 minutes perfect, the driving examiner's like, oh yeah, this person can drive. And they relax. And they carry on with their life, right? So it's the same thing. You got to get the first 5 minutes right. So practice the first 5 minutes. Signaling out of the parking space, watching, observing, signaling, shoulder checking, looking, observing, doing what you need to do for the first 5 minutes. Because the last thing you want with a driving examiner, you never want the pucker factor. Okay, I call it the pucker factor. You get the pucker factor with the driving examiner, unfortunately, you have failed your driver's test. If you come around a corner and you narrowly miss a cyclist, for example, and the driving examiner goes, that's an automatic fail on your driver's test, and you will never get that trust back. Never. Ever, ever, ever. Okay? So, first 5 minutes, Do it right, do it well, and that way you're going to be successful on passing your driver's test. Marion, I think I would have asked you to stop and I would have walked to my destination. Yeah, I don't know if they didn't say anything after that, but I know nobody slept on an 11-hour overnight. Yeah, so I realized after that how important the first 5 minutes of the bus trips were for sure. Mallory, we have really nice days and cooler nights here in the Maritimes, and yes, that's really lovely too when it's nice during the daytime. We are actually nice enough now that I can actually put the laundry out on the clothesline. I'm a huge clothesline fan. Always put the clothes out in the line in the summertime. Elevator, is being a left lane squatter an automatic fail on a driver's test? Elevator, you're not going to be in the left lane, and there's probably no reason for you to be in the left lane on a driver's test, because you have to do the posted speed limit, and because you're doing the posted speed limit on a driver's test, you're going to be the slowest person on the road. So you're going to be in the right-hand lane for the duration of your driver's test. And for the other part is you just, it's very short for most places. I mean, unless you're in Europe or Germany, it's 50 minutes, an hour and a half. Most driving tests in North America are less than 45 minutes, okay? So just know that. Marion, I am too, except it keeps raining here in Port Moody lately. Yes, lots of rain. Good windshield wipers on your vehicle. Keep your glass clean, headlights on, good tires on your vehicle. All of that will keep you safe when it's raining. And actually, we went down to Penticton on Sunday, and it was raining all the way down. I actually like driving in the rain. Now, one thing that freaked my kids out, we're bombing down the highway. It's raining pretty good. And there's a place down past OC College here. You get down in kind of the dip, and the water sits and pools down there. And I'm passing another car on the left-hand lane, and all of a sudden the car hit a pool of water, and it just come up and just like pelted the windshield. It's like, and of course for that 2 seconds the windshield just goes black, right? You can't see anything because it just like, and my kids are like, oh. And of course it just hold the steering wheel and car keeps going straight, and the windshield wipers come on and clean it off. But every now and again, especially if you're living on Vancouver Island, you're living in Seattle or Arkansas where it's raining a lot right now, you're going to get that where you're going to get that right on the windshield, and it just, everything goes black for like 2 seconds. You just got to relax, keep the steering wheel straight, don't panic, and keep going. And it's another one of those unexpected events that's going to happen when you're driving. So know that. Okay, Jay, I had an instructor tell me that at stop signs with no lines and no crosswalk signs at the stop sign, but I've seen others say go to the curb instead of stopping at the stop sign. Yes, that's correct, Jay. The stop sign has absolutely nothing to do with the stopping position at the intersection, okay? If there's no stop line, no crosswalk, no sidewalk, those two conditions don't exist, then at the edge, just before entering the intersection, that's where you stop. Okay, Klaus, here in Rosenheim County, it's raining since Monday. Oh, a couple of days of rain. Yeah, that sounds like Vancouver Island. Mallory, would love to see that bus you're driving on 2 wheels. Yeah, well, we didn't drive it on 2 wheels, but, doing some... trying to get there as fast as we can. Elevator, I've been tailgated and I still feel pressured. Yes, and when other people do that, and if you are being tailgated, there's all kinds of things that you can do. Maintain your speed. If there's a place to pull off safely, then just pull off and let them go past. If you're on multi-lane road, then pull into the right lane and let them go around you on the left lane. Don't slow down excessively trying to upset the other person, because then you're into a kind of a battle between who's going to ramp it up the most, and it may end up ending in a crash, because people follow too close. The number one crash in North America is tailgate rear end crashes, okay? So know that. People are too close behind you for sure. And if you do something goofy like brake check them, which do not do, okay, because you're playing with people's lives when you're brake checking other cars. So don't do that. And it happens. So keep yourself safe. Don't brake check them. Increase your following distance in front so that you don't have to do anything aggressive, and you can prevent rear end crashes. The other piece about it, a lot of people don't realize, first and foremost, traffic crashes aren't like they are in Hollywood movies. I mean, you don't climb out of the car and, everything's good. No, I know so many people who have been in crashes and rear end crashes and suffer soft tissue damage through their neck and shoulders, and they're never right again, right? Because it just tears all the cartilage and all the muscles in your neck, and you're never okay again. So know that it's not like it is in the movies. You are going to sustain long-term damage from a car crash. Marion, I really don't like it when they tailgate it. Yeah, I don't like it either when people tailgate me, for sure. Colton, it doesn't rain all the time, but it gets very wet when it does. Our neighbor mows his yard the next day, and we have to wait days and weeks before we can do anything with ours. Okay. Yes, there's nothing more, the lawnmower just gets all bunged up when the grass is super wet. It's just like not something you want to be doing because it takes you 2 hours to clean the lawnmower and get all the grass from underneath it. Yes, and as Marion just said, in your lower back as well. So, because the car is pushed forward and you're slammed into the seat behind you, and even though you have that head restraint behind you to hold your head from whiplash going back, it still shocks and jolts everything in your body, and you're just not going to be right again. David, be careful about accidental speeding in a school zone or residential neighborhood though with children present during the test. They're more strict in those areas than they say the freeway, and that is absolutely correct. As we said earlier in the live stream, speeding in construction zones, speeding in school zones are automatic fails on a driver's test. You will not be successful. So do not speed in school zones and construction zones. These are the few places on the driver's test where you can actually drive a couple of miles an hour less than the posted speed limit, a couple of kilometers less than the posted speed limit. This is the one exception to your driver's test. So know that and keep yourself safe. All right. Raining. Let's talk more about raining. Hydroplaning. The other thing is there's, and this comes down to your own discretionary driving and what you're comfortable with. I've had lots of people tell me that when there's moisture on the roadway, you shouldn't use cruise control. If it's not raining very heavy, you can use cruise control. Okay? The key to using cruise control safely is to know how to cancel cruise control. Okay? All you're doing when you're driving the vehicle with cruise control is using your hands and fingers instead of using your feet and toes. Okay? And the most important thing is to be able to cancel the cruise control without touching the brake. If you can do that, it's perfectly safe to drive your vehicle on wet roads and in moderate rain. Okay? Now, if it's raining hard, like it was on the weekend when I drove down to Penticton, I wasn't on cruise control because the water was pooling on the roadway, and there were a couple of times that, in fact, yes, the buggy was actually hydroplaning. And I have good tires on the buggy, so I have lots of tread. Good tires will pump up to 1 gallon a second from underneath the tire to keep the tire in contact with the roadway. So make sure that you have good tires on your vehicle, because if you don't have good tires and they're bald, you're more prone to hydroplaning. And I know tires are expensive, so if you've got bad tires on your vehicle and you know that, don't use cruise control in any type of moisture, okay? Because you're just asking for it. So the key to using cruise control safely is to learn how to cancel it, okay? Most late model vehicles will have a cancel button, okay? They'll have the circle around it, they'll have resume and accelerate at the top, and they'll have set and decelerate at the bottom, and in the center they'll have the cancel button. So just hover your finger over the cancel button when you're on cruise control, and that way you can cancel it when you're going down the roadway. Now, I have a manual transmission in the old buggy, the 1998 Honda CR-V that I drive, and when it's on cruise control, I know that I can just lightly tap the clutch and it will disengage cruise control. Now, if you get stuck or caught out, yes, if you touch the brake, it will cancel the cruise control as well, but that is not ideal to cancel the cruise control. You just want to cancel it, okay, by hitting the cancel button. So, cancel button, learn how to do that when you're using cruise control on your vehicle. The other piece about cruise control, it reduces distracted driving because you don't have to monitor your speed all the time. So it's one less thing that you need to be looking at and monitoring while you're driving. So just put it on cruise control. And lastly, it will reduce fatigue and it will increase a fuel economy on your vehicle by up to 20%. So use cruise control. I'm a huge advocate of cruise control. And let me tell you, back in the days of driving truck, all the trucks had cruise control on them. And a couple of times I got in trucks that the cruise control didn't work and I had to hold down that fuel pedal all day after 8 hours. That's a lot of work, holding down the fuel pedal on your vehicle all day, and especially if you're trying to monitor your speed and those types of things. David, is it recommended to use cruise control on a rural 2-lane or multi-lane undivided highway? I usually restrict using it to multi-lane divided roads. No, David, as long as you're on a roadway that doesn't have a great deal of traffic, or you're just following traffic and you're driving for a distance, you can completely use cruise control. So just get used to hitting that cancel button, and it's something you can do all the time. Elevator, some examiners won't let you use control. No, don't use cruise control on a driving test. Okay, this is not for a driving test. This is for when you're driving up and down the highways and those types of things. Don't use cruise control on a driver's test, okay? Close, I don't like tailgaters as well. Just ignore this. D-heads and drive the posted speed limit. When I was driving to work last week on 2-lane roads between 2 small towns, yeah, and people tailgating you, unfortunately. Mallory, on rainy days in the car, I love the sound of the windshield wipers. Yes, I love that too. Absolutely love it. Yes, don't stop on the acceleration lane when getting onto the highway. Okay, get your foot into it, get it going. Colton, if you have a donut spare, you need to address that. Those things suck. Yes, they do. They're only designed to get you off the roadway and to the tire shop. And the maximum speed on these things is like 50 miles an hour. You're not supposed to be driving more than that. But then, of course, you see the person who has the donut spare on their vehicle. You know, they've got all kinds of stuff tied to the top of the vehicle and 12 kids in the car, and they're going down the road at 100 miles an hour. Those people exist, and we share the road with them. So, yes, donut spares. Jake, Fleet Cruise works fine as long as you're running at the governor. Yes. Yes. Colton, I'll use cruise control before and after the test, but not during the test. Yes, don't use cruise control on the test. I was talking about, after the test and you're driving, but not on your driver's test. Don't use cruise control. What speed is 50 miles an hour? Marion, 50 miles an hour is 90K. It's about 85K, between 85 and 90K. So 90 is 55, so it's about 85K. Elevator, I've seen people sit at a green light and had to tap the horn. Yes, there are people who will sit at green lights, and sometimes you have to tap the horn for sure, because they're looking at their phone, they're looking at their radio, their telecommunications, or whatever else is in their car. They're not paying attention and they missed the light. So yes, little tap on the horn to say, hey, it went green, we can go now. David, don't use cruise control in construction zones, though, due to workers present. Same thing with school zones. Yes. And generally, as a rule, anytime you're going to slow down to go through a construction area, you're going to have to be on the throttle anyway. Okay. You know it's spring when the bumblebees are flying in from outside and they're flying around the house. And, of course, it's driving Striker crazy. And I will address that this week. I will make sure that we have puppy time, because last week didn't. I'm sorry. I was in a hurry when I got off the live stream last week, so you didn't get to see Striker. And Striker's losing his mind right now because there's a bumblebee flying around in the house, and he's like, this is my house. Get out of my house. Bumblebee, you're not allowed in my house. I'm paraphrasing what he's saying. But anyway, that's what he's doing. Running around here in the studio. All right. Yeah, if you only know kilometers, yeah, definitely ask me what miles per hour is, or vice versa. If you don't know what kilometers, ask me what miles an hour is. Colton, if I'm sitting still when a light goes green after 2 to 5 seconds because I can't tell if it's clear because of the bushes or a big vehicle. Yes, and that's always a good thing. Again, green light. What does a green light mean? Green light means go if the way is clear. It doesn't mean that you can go, right? Same thing as a yellow light. Many people erroneously think that yellow light means proceed with caution. It does not mean proceed with caution. It means go. It means stop if you can do so safely. And this is why I say to students, Yellow and red lights for the purposes of a driver's test mean the same thing. Bring the vehicle to a stop. Marion, I have a cat that eats them. You can hear them buzzing as she swallows them. Oh, awesome. Well, I don't like your kitty cat because I like bumblebees because they do good things for the planet and whatnot. So, elevator, how many kilometers per hour is 70 miles per hour? 70 miles per hour is about 112 kilometers an hour. Klaus, semi-trucks came the opposite side of the water from the trucks, hit the windshield like whoosh. It's like washing your car on the left side. Yes, you get a lot of spray off of semi-trucks. And some years ago when I was moving back from Vancouver Island, same thing. Up on top of the Coquihalla, which is the major summit on the highway, the Trans-Canada Highway. And, you know, I've been working a lot. I've been driving. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and this semi-truck goes past me, and I thought, oh, he's not going to go past me. And he did, because there was still snow and snowbanks up on top of on the roadway. And as soon as he went past, same thing. Huge blanket of rain and snow and slush came across the windshield of the U-Haul truck that I was driving, and it just, like, everything went black. For like 3 seconds, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to die. It was the one time that I thought, yeah, I'm not going to make it out of this. So that's, yeah, that happens with semi-trucks every now and again, that they will just blanket your windshield, and you can't see anything from the spray coming off those big trucks. David, yellow lights also does not mean speed up and try to beat the light either. David, that is very much social driving, and if you just stand at an intersection and wait for it to go yellow, you will hear the vehicles coming through, and you can hear them speeding up every time. They're standing on the accelerator trying to make that yellow light before they get through the intersection. Oh, that's crazy. Having a cat that eating bumblebees. That's crazy. Okay. So, Crystal, how are you, my friend? 4 components of any driver's test: space management, speed management, observation, and communication. Those are the 4 components that you have to have for any driver's test. Space management, 2 to 3 second following distance for the duration of the test. Stop in traffic so you can see the tires of the vehicle in front making clear contact with the pavement, which is approximately 1 vehicle length. Stopping at controlled intersections. Stop behind the stop line, behind the crosswalk line, or sidewalk. If those 2 conditions don't exist, then at the edge of the road just before entering the intersection. 3 feet minimum between you and vulnerable road users, for example, cyclists and pedestrians. So imagine if you're going past a cyclist, there has to be a person standing between your vehicle and the pedestrian for you to go past that pedestrian safely. If in doubt at any time on your driver's test, you don't know what to do with the driving environment, the situation that's going on, simply stop, the traffic will clear, and then you can proceed, okay? Too many drivers fail their driver's test because they just push forward and it's too complicated, it's overwhelming their experience and abilities, so just stop, okay? Speed management, flow of traffic, or the posted speed limit, whichever is less for the purposes of your driver's test. Observation, forward scanning pattern, shoulder checking. When you change lanes, shoulder check, signal on, look ahead, look again. If the space is still there, then you can move over, leave your signal on until you're completely in the other lane. Reversing, okay, you can use a backup camera, you can use your mirrors, but for the duration of your test, you have to be looking out through the back window when backing up. As I said, 7/8 of the road test is in a forward motion. 1/8 is the slow speed maneuvers, the parallel parking, 2-point reverse turn, backing into a parking space. It's the 1/8 that gives drivers the most grief. However, if you focus on your slow speed maneuvers, that's what's going to give you the biggest return on investment. That's what's going to teach you to drive the most. Colton, good night, my friend. All the best. Have a great night and all the best for the next week. Okay, so observation and then communication, 5 ways we communicate. Position of the vehicle or road user on the roadway or in relation to the roadway. Lights and signals. eye contact, hand gestures, and then the horn. Use the horn sparingly because oftentimes it's seen as a sign of aggression when you're driving. All right, so 4 components: space management, speed management, observation, communication. And space is the most important because if you're not near anything, it's less likely that you're going to hit anything. Klaus, my cat, sometimes jumps in front of the bumper when I turn into my driveway. It's like, okay, are you crazy? All right. So we'll leave it there for tonight. Congratulations, you passed your driver's test in the last couple of weeks. And good luck if you have one coming up here in the next week or so. Striker, you want to say hi? He like came in the house and passed out. Come here. Come here. Let's say hi. There you go. Oh, puppy time. There's the puppy. Oh, the puppy. You gotta look right there. Can you look right there? No? No? Dad, let me have my nap. No? You're all done? You're all done? He's getting bigger than a puppy now. 4.5 months. He'll be 5 months on December 7th. So, yeah, he's been a good dog. He's a really good dog. He was a good one. He was a good one. So, yeah, we like him. Say hi to everybody. Hi. Bye. There we go. Whoops, sorry. All right, everybody. Thanks so much. Have a great night. Good luck in your driver's test. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. All the best.